Every episode's a hit, it's a guaranteed ball. So let's get moving, swing to the Flurry Sports Groove. Listen up and let your worries just snooze. Grab your popcorn, settle in, let's have a blast. With Zach and Jake, the Flurry Sports Podcast.
It's week 2 of the NFL season. Jake and I just did a little bit of a pre-show figuring out what we're going to do. It's going to be a fun one today. 15 games in the books, Monday Night Football yet to be played between the Birds, and it'll be an interesting one, I'm sure. Lots to take away. A lot of injury talk. Are the 49ers covering up potential fraud by not exposing Christian McCaffrey's injury, Jake? That's the biggest news headline. Even though Tua died again, we got that. We have Bryce Young getting benched. Number 1 overall draft pick for the Carolina Panthers last year, has played 19 games now, I guess. Benched, done, bust. But you know what, Jake? If you're in this position, you have to see what you have in Andy Dalton. You have to. You don't know.
To be fair, I would technically hear out. I'm not sure we do know what we have in Andy Dalton. I think
that's fair. He's had so many. Remember, he was an MVP candidate before he got hurt 10 years ago.
That's okay. That's true. I know it's health. We should do sometime a show that's just quarterbacks where I can't remember why no one believes in them anymore. Add him to the list, because some guys, I remember why we don't believe in Carson Wentz. He got some opportunities.
Yeah, speaking of Carson Wentz, I think he may have been starting for the Tennessee Titans the past 2 weeks. Looked a lot like him.
It did. It's the third person I've heard make that comparison, and random shots fired to Carson Wentz. I don't know if he ever looked that bad, but I've never listen. We've got a lot of random quarterback talk to get to. I think what Will Levis is doing needs to be studied. It's unbelievable, and I would just like to say, never seen a black quarterback do that. For all the shit we always give, can we just throw that out there? All the shit we always give black quarterbacks of how mobile they have to be. Should they play quarterback? They never talk about the Brett Favre thing. I've never heard people talk about anyone like Will Levis or Brett Favre or Josh Allen with a black quarterback.
No, truly careless. It's true. You know what it is? It's true. Like, I'm white. I'm not going to get cut if I do this. You know what I mean? If it's a black quarterback.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah, for sure. It's like, this guy doesn't even care about his teammates. He's in it for the money. He's not even he should play wide receiver. Like, if he can't do this. Meanwhile, Will Levis is eating bananas with the peel on, putting mayo in his coffee, and then he's fucking diving and chucking it, but not down the field. It's never down the field. He's just chucking it 2 yards to the defender. That's all he does. His head coach is saying, "What the fuck are we doing?" Or "What the fuck are you doing?"
Yeah.
And did you see him at the press conference after the game?
No, I didn't.
Callahan?
Just stood clear.
They're like, reporter. I love this reporter too. He's like, What did you say to Will Levis there? He's like, I'm pretty sure the camera captured it perfectly. He's just being dumb. Like, he's losing the game for us. It was a non-coach answer. It was total, like, this dude is a fucking menace and he needs to stop. It was great. It was great. Callahan. And by the way, this was one of the teams preseason. We need to raise our hand and admit when we're wrong, because it never ever happens. Mostly because we don't say real things. We said, we said the Titans, possibly the most boring team in the NFL this year.
Wrong.
They were nothing. We were very wrong. This is fun. Very fun team.
It is hard to critique abstract painting, but they got us this time, you know? Yeah, it
True.
doesn't look like a duck. Not supposed to.
Exactly. Yeah. I'll tell you, whatever you think you saw, that's what it was.
It's the out there. I will say, in the Will Levis argument, we're going to circle back to Bryce Young, because I am still angry about that. But here's the thing with Will Levis. I don't get why he does the things he does, is what I was going to say. Here's my question. Is this like they're coming in non-pressure moments. They're coming in moments of like so unforced, like they're forced in the moment. But the optics of the Bear turnover is worse because that's the worst interception. We talked about it last week. It's the worst interception we've seen since high school. But not ever, but since high school. The play this week is worse because I think it was first down.
I think so. In scoring position.
In the red zone. And to Zach's point, it was a shovel pass 1 foot above the ground backwards to the running back.
Yeah. Just stop. Like he's not like it's not a Brett Favre thing. It's not like Brett Favre sees a guy and he just thinks he can complete any ball at any point in time wherever he wants it to go. He thinks it'll teleport. Will Levis I don't know. That's why, like, as coach, it's not even like a mean thing. Like, what the fuck explain it to me, please. Just tell me what you're doing so I can be on the same page whatsoever.
The only defense I have of it is he looks okay other times. The part that's the most concerning is everyone's talking about it like, how do you prevent it from happening again?
You cannot.
My only drill, you tell me if this is a bad drill. I want to see him do a practice drill where he's not allowed to do anything but take a sack. Like they tie his arms to his chest and they're like, just take the hit. Just take it. You have to.
Yeah, that's a good point. That's not bad. That's not bad at all. It's just like close your eyes and fall down. That's the
100%. Because my favorite was last week. Someone was like, he was trying to throw the Jonathan Owens ball out of bounds. Liar. I saw his eyes. He was pointing right at him. It was also 10 feet from the sideline.
Yeah. It was, it's insane. And now the pessimistic Wisconsin sports fan in me is like, he's going to get right against the Packers. For whatever reason, the stars are going to align this week, and he's going to be lights out. I don't know how. I'm not even blaming it on the Packers defense. It's just somehow he is going to rip it. It's going to be incredible.
I'm with you. If it wasn't the Packers, though, this narrative is perfectly set up. No one thought they were wrong for benching Malik Willis. And the narrative is perfectly set up to be cut Malik Willis? Like,
how does the NFL do this? Every single time. How do they create a storyline this good where somehow Malik Willis is facing Will Levis? In what universe does that happen?
I know. Someone's got to tell Love to stay down. By the way,
yeah, true. That is true. No, we got stuff to do. This is must-watch television right now. Best reality show on TV.
Yeah, no one gets luckier than the NFL,
no,
except for Bryce Young. His luck, he doesn't have to play Max Crosby.
Very fair point. And Christian Wilkins there as well. It's if I'm the Raiders, honestly, I would have just blitzed every play. Why not?
The only thing, here's my question on the Bryce Young thing. It's delusional to me because where was this a year ago? Like, I don't.
Well, what's the point? Like, what's the end game?
The point? Yeah. He needs a little more time. No, that can't be what they're saying. That would be.
There's no point. What are we trying to win now?
Can't be. And what's worse?
Sense.
It's worse. You mentioned this before the show started. The worst outcome is if Carson Wentz wins next week. No, wrong. Andy Dalton, wrong white guy.
Yeah, I mean, what's the point? I think Andy Dalton's a good quarterback, by the way. I think he's good enough to mess around and win too many games. So then your draft pick is at number 1 overall.
Yeah, and all it convinces you is that Bryce is the problem, which I just don't. That team's terrible. The team is awful. So even if they mess around and win some, I don't know. They have looked truly dreadful. I would love if they came out and they're like, listen, we're going to get Bryce killed. Like, they're like, we're not. Maybe they come out and say, we can't see anything. Like, we're not learning anything. All we're doing is, that's too honest, but I would respect that. That's what Matt Nagy wanted to do with Justin Fields.
Oh, for sure. I
was hoping
is
not playable. Can't do that.
Their schedule's kind of easy. I was hoping they'd play the Saints in like 2 weeks. They don't play the Saints until November. But the Saints are like, again, we came into the season like every year. It's a yearly tradition. What are the Saints? We don't know. Everyone thinks they're really good now. I think their offensive line is really good, but that's a game the Saints lose 9 out of 10 times. If the Panthers are like 0-3 going in there, worst team in the NFL, Saints would shit the bed, obviously.
I still don't think there's a world where the Panthers aren't dangerously close to 500 in the division.
In that division, of course.
Yeah. And that division's come out so far and been like, okay. I'm going to call it now. This is going to age like milk. Are you ready for this?
Perfect. Love it.
I think the Falcons are going to get a little nasty tonight. I think they could.
Okay.
Put one on the Eagles.
Oh, I think so too. You're the one last week who said the Falcon. You were very surprised. I thought they'd win the division.
I was, and then I realized the predicament I'm in for tonight, where we've got, because I'm looking at that game going, this is going to be awful, and that's not how the NFL works.
True. I mean, if anything that you thought you knew in week 1, it kind of seemed like the opposite this week. So I don't know.
Let's talk through that, Zach. We've got some takeaways from week 2.
We do.
You're going to explain the article, but we've got one little wrinkle we're putting on it.
That's right. So we have an article here. If you're listening to the show, I would advise you to go to the Flurry Sports YouTube channel. From ESPN, NFL Week 2, biggest questions, takeaways for every single game. Obviously, this does not include Monday Night Football, but there's 3 takeaways from every single game, or from every team. So we got 90 here. We got 30 teams, with the 2 not playing from tonight. And we were just going to say, is this worth it to talk about? Is that correct?
Yeah,
for the first part?
Correct. It's like, do you have an opinion? Yay or nay?
Okay. And for the most part, I mean, it's week 2. It's going to be a lot of overreactions. So you and I both know, not worth talking about, most likely does not matter. However, Jake and I are going to force each other once per game. So there's 6 takes from every single game. We have to argue for or against it strongly. You have to have a strong opinion on one of these things that we initially thought does not matter, does not need to be discussed.
That's correct. If the typical NFL media is in a mouche-bouche, like you've got to go through and sample everything on the menu, like, oh, we really have to talk about the Bills game. We do not. Except we do have a little veto where Zach and I get to tell each other, you have to try the oysters. You've got to sample them. So this is us telling you what you should care about, and a little bit forced masochism on one of these questions here.
And by the way, this is how sports talk works, like sports talk television. This is, you have to form an opinion. Stephen A has the opposite side. You have to figure it out if you want to be on First Take. You gotta form an argument. So first one here, looks like we're starting with Sunday Night Football. Obviously, Texans beat the Bears 19-13. So the 3 things for the Texans: how can the Texans get all 3 receivers involved? Okay. Biggest hole in the game plan, which looks like it is, he's straight away from a balanced offense, so he got away from the running game. And eye-popping advanced stat, which is cornerback Derek Stingley Jr. guarded DJ Moore on 28-yard routes, allowed 52 yards while snagging an interception. That's an eye-popping advanced stat. Okay, I can already see where this is going to go. Jake, are any of those 3 even worth discussing? Do any of those matter?
Well, here's what I'll say. I'm already editing our rules. I think if we opt into one of these, now that I see how it's breaking down, then, I don't think we should be forcing each other, because then we'd be covering like 4 points a section. So I think if we opt in, then we can't force us to talk about something. Does that seem fair? Like if I pick one of these 3, you can't make me take the other one? Or do we want to do it a little different?
Oh, sure. If it's a situation where none of them matter, then we
force.
Yeah, that makes sense. Is there one you want to discuss that you think matters, though?
No.
Me neither. So hot bat to start.
But let's go. We've got the other half of this game. Let's see if any of the Bears points are good, or I'm going to make you come back to that stat.
What a bad stat. Eye popping. Okay, DJ Bien Aimi? I don't know what that is, but whatever. Okay, the Bears. How can the offense better support Caleb Williams? Okay. Describe the game in 2 words.
Ooh.
Costly mistakes.
I just like
I mean,
describe the game in 2 words.
yeah,
Done.
that's
Got
true.
it. Okay.
Right. And then biggest hole in the game plan looks like for the Bears. Bears run game was non-existent for the second straight week. Do any of those matter?
I think the first one does. I was gonna make fun of the costly mistakes 2 words one, but I think the offense supported Caleb Williams one matters.
I think so too. I mean, it's what we discussed coming into the year where we didn't really understand why people were ignoring the Bears offensive line being so bad. And it's weird. They're very bad. Horrible.
And they're in a boat where, here's my only thing is I do wonder internally what they would say, because I think externally it's super fair. They're projecting like our expectations is, we'll take what we can get. We've got high hopes, but it's early. And I wonder internally, their receiving core is good. And I wonder if internally they do expect a certain level of performance from Williams. But I think the thing that gets overshadowed, all of those receivers are going to be there for a while.
I mean, if Keenan Allen lives.
That's true. Contract-wise, they're there for a while. They just extended some folks. Aduze is obviously a rookie, so he's going to be there for a minute.
Right.
So they're good, but I don't feel like they feel any pressure. That would be my point to it is I think right now the question is how good should this offense be looking? And I think the answer to that is I don't necessarily think they care about how it looks this year, or especially this early.
Right. And I said last week, Bears are going to struggle to start. They're going to struggle to finish. In the middle of the year, they're going to look pretty good. I mean, I don't know if you can. Yes, Caleb Williams has looked like a rookie. So I suppose that was a correct point. He's looked like a rookie in the first 2 weeks, but I wouldn't blame him, especially for last night's game. I wouldn't blame him whatsoever. He got pressured more than any other quarterback in the league. And much like the Giants said about Daniel Jones, I suppose, coming into the season, you got to give him a situation where he can succeed. You can't just keep giving people receivers and act like everything's fine. This is the time of year where I get to stand on my offensive line high horse and act like, offensive line's important. Weird. I can't believe we ignored that. But for the Bears situation especially, it's they don't have an offensive line. And if they don't get one, they're going to be fucked.
The point to that I've heard the most that I think is so dumb is I understand that there are moments just with the way the picks are evaluated. I agree that I think it is silly. There's so many positions where it's if they don't play well, then we blame the line. And I'm well, then the line has to be good before you get that skill position, because otherwise, what are we talking about? And I think the biggest point there for the Bears is I've heard that so far about Swift. Well, he hasn't been very good. The running game, they mentioned it here, hasn't been great. And then they blame the line. Well, then why did we go make these acquisitions if we knew the line was going to, they're giving them a pass. It's we know Swift hasn't been great, and we haven't gotten Herbert involved, but it's because the line's not good. Well, then are you surprised? What are we doing?
Yeah. That's what needs to be good to start. It's the same situation that the Giants have been through over the past decade. We got Saquon. Why can't we run the football? I don't know, because he's getting hit 5 yards in the backfield. Weird.
I can't wait to talk about the Giants. Okay, here we go.
Yeah, they suck. Okay, next is Chiefs, Bengals, game for the ages. Chiefs get a call at the very end, win. As soon as the Bengals missed a field goal, though, I told Lindsay, I'm that's going to come back to bite them. And she wondered how I knew that. I said, well, the Bengals make one mistake every time they play the Chiefs, and it always costs them the game. So, tale as old as time. For the Chiefs, what has happened to tight end Travis Kelce? He's disappeared completely. Okay, I just talked about that for 2 hours on Fantasy Stream. Biggest hole in the game plan for the Chiefs. It is apparently Mahomes threw just 13 passes in the first half while attempting 18 running plays. And apparently that is the biggest hole in the game plan. The Chiefs don't pass enough. Gotcha. And then most surprising performance, Mahomes.
Okay. Oh, God.
Oh, because he threw a pair of interceptions. Okay, whatever. I'll read the Bengals and then we can decide if any of them are worth talking about. Bengals, what does this performance say about Joe Burrow's wrists? And he played pretty good, had some mistakes. Describe the game in 2 words. Another classic. Yeah, what a great game. And then this eye-popping advanced stat, Burrow had an average of 2.88 seconds to throw the ball against Kansas City. Cincinnati's offensive line deserves a ton of credit for giving Burrow ample time in the pocket. 2.88 seconds, a lot of time, all day, really. Any of those worthwhile, Jake?
I think I've got one. I do think there's one worthwhile one. Do you think there's a worthwhile one in here?
I don't.
Okay, well, I have one I want you to answer then. There we go.
Go for it.
I would love for you to tell me what this performance says about Joe Burrow. Or his wrist, more specifically. I was like, why did I think it was funny? Tell me what this says about his wrist, Zach.
Obviously, Joe Burrow's wrist is completely fine because he completed the game. He pushed the ball downfield. He put the Bengals in a position to win the game. And, people have been making such a big deal about his wrist. Week 1, there was a video where the water bottle slipped out of his hand. And they said, oh, Joe Burrow's wrist is so bad that he can't grip a water bottle. Has anyone heard about a little thing called condensation? Because the dew point right now is so fucking high. I think that's the correct thing. So it's humid out. The water bottles get all slippy. And God forbid Joe Shiesty let a water bottle slip a little bit. His wrist is fine. It's stronger. You know what, Jake? I bet it's stronger than it was.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, he's back. Also, he's famously got small hands. So I think that was the water bottle thing.
That's true. Big water bottle. Set him up for failure.
I would say the one thing on here, and you tell me why you disagree that it matters. I would say that if I was going to extrapolate, because the way they put it does not matter. But I do think the criticism of the Bengals is to just go back, because we were just talking about it. If they cannot keep Burrow upright, they're not going to be good. So I do think part of the reason, as I was watching the game, I'm like, this game's close. The Bengals look good. As the game kept going, the Chiefs got more and more pressure on Burrow. I don't know why they were. The Chiefs do that sometimes. I feel like they were saving some of their blitz packages in case they run into this team again, and then it stayed close. But I don't know. I think that if that protection goes good, I'm less worried about all the other shit about Burrow and everything else if he's going to have good protection.
That's fair. I just don't think the offensive line was that great. In 2.88 seconds, like that's good.
Yeah,
it's good. It's not like it's an average time where it's like, oh, that didn't decide the game. But that's not something I'm hanging my hat on. I'm not giving everyone a gold star for 2.88 seconds. It was fine.
Yeah. I think to your point, I don't know if that's a sign of things to come. But if it is, it's a big deal. But that's what I don't know so far. I also didn't want to talk about his wrist.
Fair. Well, that is like put it into context. If the defense blitzes rushes 3 people and they have 3 seconds to throw it, are we applauding? Or are we saying, oh, they just didn't rush anybody? Because to your point, the Chiefs didn't really blitz that much. So
no,
is what it is. Okay, barn burner of a game, Steelers, Broncos, 13-6.
It feels like every game was 13-6 this week, by the way. I statistically know that wasn't true, but feels like a big field goal week.
Well, huge field goal week. Teams are settling for 50-yard field goals instead of kicking 40-yarders. They'd rather kick 50. I don't know why. And by the way, the worst kicker in the league, Justin Tucker. I hope that's on the Ravens one, because I will talk about. He's done. He's washed. Okay, Steelers. Is the defense as good as it is, or is it as good as it has shown in the first 2 weeks?
That's a crazy question. Okay.
Yeah, fair. Early prediction for next week. I love a little prediction for under the things that we know. So that's not what we know. But Justin Fields starts against the Steelers. In the Steelers home opener. Okay, so they didn't put the team. They had to look it up and forgot to go back. Okay, so early prediction, Justin Fields starts as he has done already 2 times. And describe the game in 2 words, inconsistent offense. Ooh, big. Next game versus the Chargers, by the way. Broncos. What can the Broncos do on offense to help quarterback Bo Nix? Big question. Number 2, early prediction for next week. Another prediction, the Buccaneers pass rush will come after Nix. Great prediction. That's what pass rushes do. Most surprising performance. Come on, Patrick Surtain II. It was more shocking than surprising, but Surtain might have had his most difficult day as a pro. He had 2 holding penalties, one on special teams, so not on defense, and a pass interference penalty. He also surrendered a 3rd down catch. Okay, any of that matter? That one actually kind of pisses me off. Any of those matter?
None of that matters.
What was that? What a terrible thing.
None of that matters. But none of that really talked about the game. 2 of those points talked about the game.
Jake, I'm going to force you. You have to talk about, is the defense as good as it has shown? Because you got to put on your analytical hat and do a little bit of a prediction, which was also 2 things that the author knew apparently from week 2 is a prediction for week 3. But is the Steelers good? Are they good? Or are they terrible this year?
All right, here's the thing. Your question's better than the one they asked. I'm getting their semantics are terrible. And I know that it doesn't matter. I understand the question is what you asked, which is, will the Steelers remain this good? The question they asked me is, are the Steelers as good as the Steelers have been? Which by definition, yes.
Yeah, true.
It's literally what they've done. So far, correct. They are that good. To answer your question, no, I've not been impressed with here's some analytics for you. The 2 teams they played, I feel like stink. That's what's going on. So
yeah.
They will play worse against better teams. And you can put that in writing. You can put my name next to it. Not all of them, but some of them. They'll play worse.
Big prediction.
That's right. I also think here's the whole deal. TJ Watt has played healthily through 2 games. That's awesome. Let's keep him on the field and go from there. I will say it was coming in. I guess defenses are a little up and down. You never really know. It's looked like one of the best defenses in football, and I do think it is one of the best defenses in football, but they're going to give up a lot of points against the Ravens. Like, they haven't played anyone good.
Yeah, that's fair. To your point. Are the Steelers as good as they are? Yes.
Have to be. They got to be. That's so funny. Okay, scroll down. There's one of the other sections. I'm gonna make you talk about your Broncos.
Okay.
Your 5th grade Broncos.
Yeah.
I want to make you. No, I'm going to make – I think the easy fruit would be making you talk about how the Buccaneers pass rush will come after Bo Nix next week. But I want you to talk about why should we or shouldn't we be worried about fucking Pat Surtain?
Okay, first off, why is Pat Surtain on special teams? Let's start with there. He was holding so he could get off the fucking field because he's the number 1 corner in the NFL. Number 2, he had a pass interference penalty and he gave up 1 catch. They left out the yardage of the catch. Let's just look to see at this prolific passing performance that the Steelers put on in their 13-point total game. Oh, it looks like Justin Fields went 13 for 20 for 117 yards. They're talking about George Pickens' huge day. Jake, how many yards do you think George Pickens had? It was such a big 3rd down. It was such a big performance from George Pickens. How many yards would a big day for George Pickens be?
100.
He had 29. How many catches do you think he had?
I hope it was like 4.
He had 2. One of them was a big 3rd down, which may have been costly. I think they did pretty fucking good. And George Pickens is a very good player. He had over 100 yards, I believe, in the first game of the year, close to 100 yards. And then he got held to 29 by Pat Surtain, the best corner in the NFL. And he did it again. But unfortunately, he held on special teams and he had a penalty, God forbid, because we know anyone who's gotten a penalty in the first 2 weeks of the NFL must be trash, right? It's not like they've thrown 500 penalties already. It's been insane.
Is the author's name? Let's get these 2 authors' names. We're gonna put them on blast. It's Jeff Legwold for the Broncos.
For that one, yeah, Jeff Legwold, which
and then who's
that's the name
the
I do
Steelers?
know. Brooke Pryor.
All right, here's the deal. Jeff Brooke.
Bad.
I know it's bad. It's bad. There's no chasing it. But I know what happened. They sent you these 3 bullet points, and you had to fill in the rest. And so, Jeff, I know they said
Sure.
most surprising performance in the least surprising Broncos game you're ever going to see, and you had to write Pat Surtain, and I get it. You gotta work, Brooke. We gotta work on. We gotta work on the phrase. We gotta work on the tense. You gotta work on how you throw that out there. Your points are well made. No, sorry, that's wrong. Your points have good content, not well made.
Out of just a really gut call, I didn't go back to watch this game yet. Most surprising performance, I'm going to go with Josh Reynolds for your team, who had 93 yards. Didn't expect that. That's pretty good. You can even spin it positive. That's fine. He had 93 yards. Incredible.
Sometimes life makes us do things, and that doesn't mean we do them well. I understand. Here's a story. I was thinking about this last week after we talked about high school football. I feel like the worst I've ever done in any practice ever was one time I had to go. I don't know if you remember this, Zach, but like very early on, I was so bad at everything I did with football that they were like, he's big. Let's send him over to Coach Mack. So I was with the DNs for like one practice, and I went through a DN drill, and the first time I did it, I like hesitated. I was like, I don't know what to do, and I got my ass ran over by fucking Moozle behind me, and I was like, man, I didn't know what to do. Sometimes you gotta move, and Brooke and Jeff had to write an article, and I appreciate it. They got their ass ran over by the English language, but that happens sometimes.
It does happen. We'll see if we can get a bounce back performance from these writers here in the Arizona Rams game. 41-10. What a colossal disaster. Josh Weinfuss for Arizona is this what the Cardinals offense can look like every week? And then he immediately says it sure looks like it. So perfect pass rating for Kyler Murray. A little optimistic, but that's fine. Describe the game in 2 words. Rookie breakout. Marvin Harrison Jr., obviously he's talking about. And then early prediction for next week. Harrison will do it again, obviously, because the offense is going to look the same, which is what Josh thinks.
He's got a concise thesis. I like it.
That's true. Same theme throughout. He didn't bounce back and forth. That is true. Sarah Barshop for the Rams. What will the passing offense look like if wide receiver Cooper Kupp misses time with his ankle injury? And it does sound like Kupp could go on IR, so it sounds like both Puka and Kupp will both be out. What a terrible... I feel so bad for Matthew Stafford. He has his wife talking about how she's like kissing other guys and like being a weirdo. Then you got Cooper Kupp out, you got Puka out, you got Tyler Higbee out. Oh, by the way, your offensive line is out too. But I digress. That's me talking about
Aaron Donald retired.
Aaron Donald, yeah, true. So this is a big deal. That is very true. Biggest hole in the game plan. This is a week after. Honestly, the fucking offensive line. It's the run defense because the Cardinals ran for 231. That makes sense. Most surprising performance was running back Kyron Williams. I'm guessing that he played bad. Rams struggled to move the ball on the ground for most of the game, ran for 25 yards on 12 carries. So, yeah, not very good. But, yeah, I think what will this offense look like without both of their top receivers when, like, 66% of the offense was supposed to be through those two guys? I think that's a big deal. It's going to look bad, obviously. And, oh, by the way, Jake, at least they have a nice matchup against a very, very pissed off San Francisco 49ers team this week.
God. They're going to tear him a new hole. I know. That matters. I actually think, what was the author's name there? Let's give her flowers. That was good by her.
Sarah Barshop. Yeah, very good. Best performance so far.
Yeah. I'm going to return to my buddy in Arizona. I liked his points. I will say this point doesn't necessarily matter, but it is a correction to what I thought was the dumbest talking point from week 1, which is draft bust Marvin Harrison Jr. So fucking stupid. Had 1 week where on several plays, to your point, he was wide open. And it's hard to throw to yourself. So week 2, guess what? They went in the film room, said, he's pretty open. All these plays. Why don't we try that? And they played a really banged up team. Harrison's going to be good. I do think that matters. I think the moments where we've been tricked into like debating how good freaking Murray is in for Arizona. Kyler, I kept wanting to say Kyrie. I'm like, nope, not the flat earther. But Kyler, it has been the moments where he's been paired with a great wide receiver, and we're like, oh, is Kyler Murray great? And listen, he's hard to sack. He's small in the pocket. If he can just throw the one dude most of the time, they put up good points some weeks. So I think that's going to continue. I also feel like if that happens, I don't think they're going to be like a dog. I don't think they're just going to be a terrible team. I think they're going to be very mediocre.
Yeah, they'll be fine. They'll be fine. Yeah. They'll struggle sometimes. Kyler Murray's going to miss easy plays sometimes. He's going to make great plays sometimes. To predict that you're going to run for 250 yards and also have a perfect pass rating every week, optimistic, but I like it. You know what? Ride that high. That's fine.
I love that's so funny. It sure looks like it when they've only done it 1 of 2 weeks. It's such a funny takeaway.
Yeah, whatever. That's fine. Raiders, Ravens. Okay,
my game of the week. Fun game.
Oh, okay. Paul Gutierrez did it. Wrote for the Raiders. It was a fun game. And first one. So this is what the offense is supposed to look like. Okay. I suppose because he won. Biggest hole in the game plan. The Raiders forgot to pack the running game on offense. Or did you miss Las Vegas rushing for 4 yards in the first half? Okay. Yeah.
That's the same point several other offers have made. He put that very fun. That was a fun way to put that. They forgot to pack it.
Yeah, that's right. Just forgot. And most surprising performance was Max Crosby when he wasn't in Ravens, when he wasn't in Lamar Jackson's face, he sacked the elusive quarterback twice. So surprising that Max Crosby was able to sack Lamar, I guess.
He was surprisingly good.
Yeah, I guess so.
That's interesting. Okay.
Yeah, I know that's interesting take from a Raiders beat, whatever. Ravens here by Jameson Hensley. We got, can the Ravens rebound after an 0-2 start? So not really a takeaway, just a question. Passing off the work onto you. Let's hear from you, the audience. Describe the game in 2 words. Another collapse. That is true. And eye-popping stat, Justin Tucker. Love it. I already love this.
There it is.
The most accurate kicker in NFL history. Not for long. Having trouble with longer kicks. Tucker, 34, missed another 56-yarder. Should be a chip shot. Ask womanizer Harrison Butker. And when he is now 1 for 7 from over 50 yards the past 2 years. Used to be automatic. Currently, even still, the most accurate kicker in NFL history. But over 50 yards, can't even see the uprights, Jake. Blind spot. Blind spot.
Cataracts will do that to you. Would you say you were excited to talk about that? So I think that counts for your this matters, huh?
It is interesting, isn't it? Like ever since I want to know when that cutoff was, because remember he ended up like it felt like, at least maybe I'm remembering it wrong. He set the NFL record for longest field goal against the Lions, and what seemed like he didn't need to go do that, and he just buried it. That was like I think 3 years ago, 2 or 3 years ago. And then I feel like since then, from 50 plus, he lost it. I feel like he's getting the yips. Maybe it was when Travis Kelce chucked his helmet last year. Remember that during warmups? Maybe scared him a little bit. Maybe the Swiftie curse. Maybe Taylor Swift put something on him. I don't know. But it does seem like the Ravens have won so many games from special teams. And then now all of a sudden, like Justin Tucker ain't it. It's weird.
It's weird because he was like winning them games, not in a game-winning sense, but like they were attempting kicks instead of punting. Like he was absolutely a game changer for them. And so I don't know if like now he has returned to the fold of average a little bit. He's gone from outstanding.
1 for 7's not though.
No, but don't you think I think he's going to go on a run and then bring it back to average. But we'll see. If I'm wrong, then it is a big deal. I don't think any of these matter because I don't think – I think the overall thesis of the Ravens part is what's going on? And my answer to that is they'll be fine. And the Raiders part is didn't we look good? And I would say, we'll see. Like, so I just don't know if – I'm not going to take anything – I'm no more concerned about the Ravens than I was going into it. I'm surprised. But they're still a playoff team, and the Raiders are still not. So that's my current viewpoint, but maybe I'll change my mind when you make me talk about one of these things.
Yeah, I mean, I would love to hear why you are flabbergasted and just shocked by Max Crosby. It was incredible to see him finally put together a good performance.
Here's why I'm surprised. I'm always surprised to see Max Crosby just because he is a startling individual. So maybe that sense of surprising performance of like, oh, Max Crosby. I will say I'm going to try and take this in good faith, the way that I think the author meant it, even though he didn't answer it the same way any other author on this page did, which is maybe just most shocking in the sense of I do think Max Crosby might be one of the best players in the league that we keep having to say, did you know Max Crosby was this good? Like, I don't think he gets brought up in the sense of like, I think it's a fact that he is one of the best pass rushers in the league. And I think that would be a hot take to some pundits or lists. And so I think the articulation here is, isn't it surprising that he was still this good against one of the tougher to sack quarterbacks in the league? I don't know if I would agree with that point just because, yeah, Lamar's fast and the Ravens line is up and down. So I don't know. I think the overall point is I am shocked that if this is a trend where Max Crosby can be good enough to win games for the Raiders, like a TJ Watt situation, that is surprising. I don't think he gets talked about that way. I think he gets talked about as the best player on a bad team. So
that's true.
I'm surprised. Kind of the way that you're surprised where it's like, oh, we have a salad bar here. Like, it's not like a, it's not breaking news, but it's like, I didn't know this golf course served food.
Fair enough. Let's cruise through these. Maybe we don't like talk about all these now.
That's good.
I mean, honestly, Cleveland Jags, I'll read through them. I'm going to.
No, none of this matters. None of these matter.
Okay, so Browns, shout out Daniel Oifusi, I guess. Is this closer to what the Browns' new offense wants to be? Wants to? I'm sure, yes. Describe the game in 2 words: undisciplined football. Yeah, I think.
This guy still dislikes the Browns. I like it.
You know what, Jake? I think that's the best way to describe Deshaun Watson. He lacks discipline. And I think I'm sure that's what he's talking about there. Early prediction for next week.
Oh, you have to answer the Jaguars' first one. Sorry, I'm skipping ahead. Go ahead and finish this line. Okay. You have to answer the Jags' first one.
Okay, Daniel thinks the Browns will break out against the Giants. That is not a bold take to say someone will play well against the Giants. Correct. Jaguars from Mike DeRocco. Can the Jaguars salvage September?
Such a dumb question. Can they save it, Zach?
Can they save it? They're gasping for air. No one's throwing them a life raft. They are 0-2. And you know what? They cannot. Pack it up. Just don't even show up to your next 2 games. Get healthy for October. That's where games are won and lost is October. And in September, that's just when games are lost. Only one team has made the playoffs after an 0-4 start. So they are actually already packing it up. In Jacksonville, they already assumed they're going to lose their next 2 games. And only one team has made the playoffs after an 0-4 start, and that's the 92 Chargers. And we know that the 2024 Jags are not the 92 Chargers. So they got to get at least 1-3. If they get to 1-3, they'll feel good enough to play the rest of the season. Biggest hole in the game plan, losing Evan Engram forced the Jags to adjust their game plan 2 hours before kickoff. Okay. You know what? I'm going to let him know. Evan Engram didn't make or break the Jags. Hate to say it. Yeah. Early prediction. Evan. Yeah. Early prediction for next week. Brian Thomas will be a bigger part of the offense. Great. Who cares? Okay. Another one that probably doesn't matter. Commanders versus Giants by John Keane. You can make me answer one of these
if you want to.
Okay. By John Keane. Did Washington discover its running game? No. They did last week when they ran for like 3 touchdowns. Describe the game in 2 words. Ugly win for Washington. Okay. Biggest hole in the game plan, Washington's coverage for Malik Neighbors. That's true, I guess. Washington used the backup Mike Davis against the rookie in the first half. Interesting that they didn't use their starter. They brought in somebody off the bench to cover him.
I like that the next sentence was, and it did not go well.
Fair enough. That is fair. Giants by Jordan Rannon. We got, is this finally a step in the right direction for Daniel Jones? It's hard to tell. Biggest hole in the game plan. The Giants didn't have a kicker. Yes, that's really what happened. That is true. Gano pulled his hamstring. They didn't have a kicker. I feel like that's happened to Graham Gano before, by the way.
Yeah, him specifically. Yeah.
I think so. Most surprising performance, rookie Malik Neighbors. He had 18 targets, the most for a rookie, Jake, since last season. That's a pretty big stat. That's a long time.
It's so tough.
Why do you even say that? The most since almost a year ago.
It's sillier because you tried to make it bigger. I don't think I would have blinked if they had said the most by a rookie through week 2. It's also silly, but it's like, I'm not trying to read into that. You just told me the truth, which is it's a small sample size.
Yeah. I would have been like the second most since and then go back, unless that's 3 years ago or this year even. Yeah, I don't know if we need to talk about any of those.
Nothing matters. The only thing I would say there is Daniel Jones did not take a step in the right direction.
No, he played Washington. Okay.
And lost.
And lost. That's correct. Seahawks, Patriots. Is quarterback Geno Smith one of the NFL's most clutch quarterbacks?
No.
Sorry, Brady Henderson. You tried. Early prediction for next week. The Seahawks wear out the passing machines over the next few days in preparation to face the Dolphins. That's true. Skylar Thompson's coming to town. People aren't talking enough about him.
Go Cats. It's coming.
They are going to throw it all over the yard. I can guarantee the Dolphins, after losing their starting quarterback, are not going to run it more. They're going to run it less. So this guy's on to something. And most surprising performance, Jackson Smith and Jigba. He did have a breakout performance, 12 catches, 117 yards on 16 targets.
That's a good point. Okay, that's a good takeaway.
Good job, Brady. Ended it strong. Patriots by Mike Rice. We got, do the Patriots have a vulnerable pass defense? Obviously, if you give up that to Geno Smith, the most clutch quarterback in the NFL, who knows? Describe the game in 2 words: overtime heartbreaker. That's true. That is true. And biggest hole in the game plan, production from wide receivers in the passing game. I mean, that's the whole thing. The Patriots don't have receivers. So they still had over 100 yards to fucking Hunter Henry. So I don't know. Do you want to talk about how Geno Smith is one of the most clutch quarterbacks in the NFL?
I will say Geno is always in close games. So those numbers might be inflated. I've never seen them blow anyone out with him at quarterback. I do feel like he's very consistent. I also think I'm going to sneak in a jab at Geno here. I'm starting to feel like we may be wasting a very good receiving core on Geno Smith.
What?
I think he's okay. And now they're producing numbers that I'm like, well, that could have been somebody else. That maybe should be someone other than Geno. Because my only thing there, I do think he's clutch, and I wonder if internally the Seahawks feel like they're winning too many games.
Maybe. I mean, that's very fair.
Because my takeaway was going to be, I think New England internally loves that they lost this game. Like, if they can have, like, if somehow they only win, like, 4 games this season, like, if they can end up with a top 5 pick, they are not bad. I think everyone feels fine about, like, where they are. Even, like, I think the worst case scenario for them is, like, if they end up with, like, even slip into that top 15 range, like, they need help. But if they can sneak in there and it's like, we're pretty good, we've got a quarterback I feel okay about, and our defense is good, and we get a top pick, I think they're in really good shape.
Yeah, if you're the Patriots, you have to lose to bad teams. You can beat teams like the Bengals. You can beat the good teams or play good teams tough, but you got to lose to the bad teams just so they get that win, and you do not.
And they did it here. They
did it. They pulled it off. Jets, Titans. I am excited for the Titans, but we'll start with the Jets by Rich Samini. I feel like I should know that. I thought there was an R there. Might be a typo. Or I'm wrong. Can Aaron Rodgers continue to bail out the Jets? I mean, that's been the hope for the whole. That's the whole point of bringing Aaron Rodgers there, 100%.
Right? Yeah.
Biggest hole in the game plan. Garrett Wilson was only targeted 6 times. Okay. And most surprising performance, Will Anderson, the 4th, had 3 sacks, equaling his career total. I was surprising in a good way.
That's a good find. That's the best use of that paragraph yet.
I agree. Good job, Rich. Now, Teron Davenport had all of the material in the world with the Titans. Let's see. How much are quarterback Will Levis's costly turnovers hurting the Titans? My guess is a lot. Describe the game in 2 words: momentum swings. That's the Titans, baby. They're a team of runs. They go on hot and cold a little bit. Most surprising performance: Harold Landry III. Again, good game. He had 2 sacks against the Jets, and Landry isn't normally a fast starter. A little shots fired there, but as shown by his 3.5 sacks through the first 2 games, it looks like this is the best start of his career. So, shots fired. Do any of those matter? I talked about him a little bit, but like
I do. I just need to read the first sentence of the Will Levis one. His response. Okay. He does. Shout out to Davenport. He didn't waste any time. How much do those early turnovers hurt the Titans? Levis single-handedly destroyed the Titans' momentum. Is an awesome sentence.
Yeah, so answered his own question there. A little bit, threw it off the backboard to himself and fucking yammed it through.
I think I don't know if any of those. I feel like there was interesting things in this game. I don't think any of those points stand out to me.
No, but he did start hot with this Levis one, and it's important to note the Titans have played pretty good football. Will Levis has not. So
I guess that matters because, like, in his other points, he does a good job. Like the Titans, just keep reiterating. You know what? I take it back. Nice job by Davenport. The Titans are good, and he is historically terrible. Those decision-making skills are atrocious. So I guess that is a trend worth watching because I do not know how much rope you give Levis if he plays like this.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, Davenport really fucking he did the whole story arc. He talked about, he said immediately, Will Levis is killing any momentum the Titans get.
Single-handedly.
And then he follows that up by saying there was momentum swings, which means anytime the Titans did something good and got momentum, Will Levis fucked them over. And then at the end, he talks about how good the defense has been. So it's like Will Levis has been given all the help in the world, yet he continues to somehow kill the Titans.
And not only how good the defense has been, but it's been even better than what they'd hope. It's usually a slow start. And he's like, we've even gone a fast start out of this schmuck, and Will Levis is still costing us the game.
Yep. Love that. Great job. Vikings, Niners, probably the biggest upset of the weekend. Kevin Seifert for the Vikings. What physical condition will the Vikings be in for week 3? So he's just talking about injuries. Jefferson got hurt, but he's fine. Addison was out. TJ Hawkinson will continue to be out because he's on the PUP list. And so that's not a question. And then Aaron Jones, meanwhile, seemed slow in the 4th quarter after a trip to the Blue Tent. Describe the game in 2 words. Brian Flores, so defensive coordinator for the Vikings. In the eye-popping stat, these haven't been good so far. Jefferson ran a total of 127.5 yards on his 97-yard touchdown reception, the most by a ball carrier on an offensive touchdown since 2016. That's a good stat.
That's fun. That's a fun stat to know. Like, look how far he ran.
Yeah. That's a good stat.
Yeah. All right, 49ers.
49ers by Nick Wagner. Will the 49ers ever win in Minnesota again? This is my guy. That's such a me headline. I fucking love that. Probably not, right? Biggest hole in the game plan, stopping Justin Jefferson. Okay, that's what it was. Describe the game in 2 words. Error filled. That's a hyphenated word. That's 1 word, sir. That is 1.
Yeah, you lose, sir. Good day.
You lose. I take back your will the Niners ever win in Minnesota again? I love this.
Do you want to take that on? Any of those matter to you?
Yeah. I mean, at some point, people are talking and people are going to start answering. No matter how good the Niners are, no matter how bad the Vikings are, they will never, ever win there ever again, it seems like. And you can't lose to Sam Darnold. You know what I mean? You can't cut him and lose to Sam Darnold.
the error-filled piece, even though it was one word, is a good, like, they had no business. And it shouldn't have been that close. They get fucking Fred Warner got a strip sack on the 1 yard line to prevent the game from, I believe, being 27-7. So, and they drive down and score. So the only reason it's close is because of a pretty lucky strip fumble. So I think that's good. The only thing I would say up top, is someone who's actively rooting against the Vikings. I have them on my lose list and they keep winning. They beat the 49ers. That's a bummer. Brian Flores is incredible, and it bums me out as someone who's rooting against him. I think the defense had a really good scheme against a good team. Like, I think as much as the Vikings, I don't like the Sam Darnold of it all and different pieces and their health. I think what I didn't think I was going to say was, wow, they're like well coached. And I like their defensive scheme. Yeah, a lot. So I think that's a big takeaway, because if the Vikings are going to play that good defense against the most complex scheme offensively in the league, they're going to play most teams well.
Yeah, they sacked Brock Purdy 6 times. That's I mean, it's not the best. It's not a good pass blocking offensive line, but nobody does that, right?
Well, like, wasting a roster spot on Harrison Smith.
Right. Very true. Man. Very true. Chris Collinsworth needs someone to talk about if he has their game this year.
Oh my God. Hold on. We have to pause. Harrison Smith. I looked him up on Pro Football Reference just to do a quick, does he still play for who I think he does? It lists nicknames next to them on Pro Football Reference.
Oh, okay.
Any guess on what his 3 nicknames are? Only one is name related.
I don't think I know. I feel like there's one I've heard before, but I don't know. Yeah. There's something about him being white.
Oh, the one I think you've heard before, I feel like I've heard Hitman.
Oh, Hitman. That is
Harrison true. Hitman Smith. I feel like I've heard that. Dirty Harry, which I've never heard of before. Or in this one, I feel like they made up the Heartbreak Kid.
That's a Collinsworth one.
100%.
That's for sure.
That one time. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. The Heartbreak Kid. Oh, I love Harrison Smith. Just for sure.
He does love Harrison Smith. Okay, Buccaneers, Lions.
Yep, Buccaneers by Jenna Lane. Buccaneers won this game. Are we looking at a career best season for quarterback Baker Mayfield? We talked about it before the season. Yes, like this isn't a surprise. Biggest hole in the game plan without Luke Gedeke at right tackle. Oh yeah, Aiden Hutchinson had 4.5 sacks, and that's because they took a half away. He's fucking insane. Most surprising performance, the Buccaneers' battered secondary grabbed 2 interceptions from Jared Goff. That is true. They had no business doing that, and they did. Good for them. Lions. Should the Lions be concerned about quarterback Jared Goff? You can't do this. You are not allowed to do this. Jake and I warned you. We said don't give him a second contract, and then now you're changing Jared Goff's name. So that's the biggest chant by the Lions ever since the run started. They just love Jared Goff, and now he has a bad game, and we're like, is Jared Goff the guy?
You also can't make me defend Jared Goff because it's one game in. It's too early. You can't be this critical. That is so funny.
That's so good. Most surprising performance. Can't do it. I mean, I guess it was surprising. Hutchinson put together a career high 4.5 sacks, which is insane. I suppose it's surprising, but I don't know.
It's an insane day. So I guess.
Whatever. It gets a pass. Early prediction for next week, the Lions scored just 1 touchdown on 7 red zone trips against the Buccaneers. Uncharacteristic. Detroit, okay, this isn't a prediction. Detroit will need to clean up its mistakes. Okay, thanks, Eric Woodyard. You didn't even predict.
Bad showing, Eric.
Bad showing. Packers Colts, what a game. Can the Packers win again without Jordan Love? Okay.
Yes, they play Will Levis.
Yeah, they can. Sure. They're, of course they can. Will describe the game in 2 words: run over. Yes, the Packers ran it an insane amount of times. Josh Jacobs is on track for over 400 carries this year, which is my insane eye-popping advanced stat. But from Rob Domofsky, his advanced stat, the Packers' 237 yards rushing in the first half was the 3rd most by an NFL team in a first half since 2000. Is 14 behind the most, which was the Jags also against the Colts. In all, the Packers rushed 53 times for 261 yards. I assume that game from the Jaguars. Was that Fred Taylor or was that Maurice Jones-Drew?
I feel like it's MJD, but I don't know. That's interesting. Maybe it is Maurice. That's I don't know. I think the only thing I would say there for the Packers piece of it is, I think to their point, that run game is not sustainable. It was not even sustainable in the second half. I love it. I like the game plan. I think it was smart. And they can't do that more than like next game would be the limit to rush it that many times.
Yeah, it won't work against the Titans, but the stars aligned because DeForest Buckner got hurt, went out of the game, and Josh Myers and Elton Jenkins, at least those two, they were literally on the line puking. What are you going to do? You going to make a tackle? Like, get out of the way. I'm not getting puked on.
So, he prevented Malik Willis from throwing at one point.
Smart. That's a heady play by the center. We do not want Malik Willis throwing this football. Puke on it. Do whatever you got to do.
That's true.
Loved it.
We are on record, though. We like Josh Jacobs. Good game by him. I'm not surprised. Yeah. I just you can't let the dude run that much. But no. Good for him. Good first half. Colts. Yeah. The takeaway's got to be booty, right? Bad game.
Should be from Stephen Holder. What happened to the Colts run defense? Second week in a row now, physically dominated up front. Their run stopper was out of the game. Biggest hole in the game plan, Anthony Richardson was the Colts' leading rusher. So it's their running offense. So losing the battle in the trenches, it sounds like. And most surprising performance was rookie receiver Donnie Mitchell. Had a promising training camp, but he hurt the Colts on Sunday with a critical pair of plays. Illegal formation penalty, negating a third down, and he dropped a perfect pass from Richardson.
Yeah.
That is true. Colts aren't winning in the trenches. I think that's also
say Richardson's rushing was not the thing I thought of in why he hurt the team. His arm can make every play, and there are moments where he thinks it will make every play, which it just won't. Like, he can make every throw, so he keeps trying. Even last week he looked great against the Texans. You can't throw a pick every week, no matter how good you are.
Yeah, and we got to remember, this is his third NFL game he's completed fully.
True. Yeah.
This is his 19th start at quarterback since college, or since high school. 19th total.
Yeah.
He barely started in college. So he's still learning how to play quarterback.
That's an eye-popping stat.
Maybe put that in your advanced stats. Okay, Saints, Cowboys. This was
how many are left, Zach? Is this the last game? Trying to keep track.
No, we gotta cruise through these. We got 3 games, I think.
3 games. Okay. Tell you what, we're making up the points from here. Okay.
Perfect.
Give me the takeaway for the Saints.
Saints. The Saints have 2 fucking insane psychopaths at tackle, and they just need to run sweeps every play. That's all you got to do. And Derek Carr doing the Michael Jackson celebration in the end zone, it's going to come back to bite you. Something's going to come out. Something's going to happen to you. Shouldn't have done it. That's a curse-worthy celebration, I think.
By the way, want to know how to keep a running back fresh? Legal troubles. Alvin Kamara's not ran as much as the other ones. So everyone's like, is he going to be as good? Yeah, he's fresh, baby. He's got good legs. So I agree. That defense is also scary. I think they're a good team, straight up.
I do not know still. I would not go that far.
Well, if they
played great
like that, they will be. I agree with you on the passing game, but we'll see. Cowboys. My takeaway, they're not. Oh man, they're just not a deep team in any way. They've got like a few playmakers on either side. Like if Micah Parsons does not disrupt, if the game cannot live or die on turnovers or pass pressure, their defense isn't great.
Yeah. And my takeaway, this was a big NFC game. They knew it was a big NFC game. It was the home opener for Dallas. They were hyping it up. It's like, let's make it loud like a playoff game. You can't do it. You got to be quiet. If the Cowboys think they're in the playoffs, they're going to get fucking ran out of their own building. So next time, nobody show up. Dak Prescott will go crazy. I promise you that.
It's so true. No one plays worse with high expectations than the boys. That is so true.
Yep. Chargers,
Oh.
Panthers, Bryce Young's final start in his NFL career. What is your takeaway for the Chargers?
Oh, they played a terrible team this week. I mean, it's just, it is hard to they did fine. I don't know if you look at that tape and go, and that's going to be what we see every week. I mean, the Panthers are just terrible. Here's my take. It mentions here a little bit of Quentin Johnson. If I don't know. Yeah, if he scores for them, they're going to be pretty good. But I've been waiting for him to break out because he's in a couple of my fantasy leagues, and I knew he'd be good against Carolina. We'll see. I don't know if that tells me anything about this team.
We got to put Chris Rim on blast here. Okay. His first thing, or her, I don't know, Chris, their first take was, should the Chargers stop splitting carries between Dobbins and Gus Edwards? No. They both almost ran for 100 yards each. What are you talking about? What's the point? Notoriously, J.K. Dobbins gets hurt. Should we give him a full workload? I don't think so.
Yeah, that's interesting. They end that paragraph with, it's clear it's in better hands with Dobbins. That is interesting.
Guess what? You had no shot that you were ever going to lose that football game. Why continue to run J.K. Dobbins? What a dumb thing to say. Panthers. Okay. Ooh,
any takeaways for you?
Canales said the best experience you can have is to be on the field and just to live it. Okay. With that in mind, you would think that Bryce Young would continue to be a quarterback, but is not. Andy Dalton is there. If my takeaway, I'm not sure. Is this the worst run of the major? Probably not. There's probably a worse run baseball team, right? Like A's are terrible. There's some bad ones, but at least this is the worst run NFL organization. I don't think it's close. I think they're worse run than the Detroit Pistons, even though you could certainly make an argument there. Hockey, I don't think there's a worse one. I don't know if there's a worse one for baseball or not, but it feels like this is the worst run American sports organization. It's bad.
Yeah, my only thing, I feel like we somewhat talked about this on the show. I do wonder if the takeaway after Chicago is going to be, do we need to tank for 2 years? Like, is their goal, let's get two number one overall picks and see what happens?
Let me do really quick research because I am unsure if they have their first overall pick this year.
Yeah, true, because they fucking traded away. Yeah, which I was thinking because they didn't get it last year. So I'm like, do they feel like they're just – it makes no sense. They are really bad, and this scheme makes no sense.
They do have it.
Man, the only thing I will say is, so maybe they're tanking. Like, why would they want to succeed? They're really, really bad. I guess weirdly, this was the only way. I'm not judging Bryce Young. We talked about that a little bit. Like, I am judging him, but I don't think people are gonna. The reaction I'm seeing online is not like, I get why they benched him. No, it makes no sense. So I guess you're protecting him in that way, which if I was his agent, I would love, but not for the team. I don't get it.
I will say Bryce Young was like this football savant going into the draft process. I don't know if he knows what he's looking at. And I don't think he's getting coached well. I think that's a big part of it. But I don't think he understands what he's looking at.
That's fair. Probably because he doesn't have very long to look. Okay, last game, of course. Bills, Dolphins.
Here's my takeaway. I do too. Do you know who hurt Tua?
Here's my takeaway. It was one of them. Hamlin had no choice. It was me or you.
That's exactly right. You could look at it that way. You could look at Damar Hamlin did not serve his purpose on earth, and that's why he came back to life. And now people are questioning, was this it? Is this what he needed to do? I don't know.
By the way, if I was booking this like WWE, I would definitely make Damar Hamlin's character ending other people's careers.
It seems that way. He's the villain of this story.
Well, he's the Undertaker. He's helping other folks save their lives. He's like, I almost died from football, and now you won't die from football. He's like taking them out before they could die.
Okay, Let me ask you that. You have a take? I have a question about Tua for you. If you have a different take.
Well, my only take was going to be, as surprised as people were that injury happened, in hindsight, it would have been more shocking had those two run into each other and no injury occurred.
Very true. What if they both had the exact same thing happen as their last big injuries?
Oh my
Tua
God.
had Tua had his twinkle fingers, and then DeMar Hamlin, we know how the ambulance came out. So, I mean, a lot of issues there. Okay, because there's a potential storyline here. Okay, you ready? How long do you think is okay, or how long do you think Tua will be out? If you had to make it's obviously just speculation, just a prediction, just whatever. There's nothing we can go on.
I honestly think from the way the convos are going that, and this is more, I'm going to almost throw it back to you. My understanding of what we are hearing is that he is saying if it is his choice at all, he will return. So then the question becomes, will an NFL doctor say you have so much head injuries that you can no longer play football? And I think the answer to that is no. I don't think we've seen that, and I don't think that's a precedent they want doctors to set. I don't think, like, if he goes to enough doctors, one of them will say, like the team doctor, like if he doesn't want other opinions, he could find one that says, no, you should be done. But if he goes until he finds someone who says, yeah, you could still play, the NFL is not going to start giving out people write a checks and say, yeah, if you continue to play football, you're going to die. Or have serious health consequences. So that said, that's how I interpret that it's going to go.
I agree.
3 weeks. I think 2 weeks. I think he misses this one and then he's back.
Okay. And if it's up to him, I think that's very possible. How long do you think would be acceptable for him to be out to like the general public, sports media, where it's like he didn't rush back, but it's if he comes back period the season, there's going to be questions, obviously. But how long is acceptable for him to quote unquote not rush it?
So I'm going to answer the question. I like the way you asked it. So I'm going to answer it as in, how long does he have to wait where it would be acceptable in the sense of like what other people think? I think my answer to that would be you miss. Honestly, this feels too low. I feel like you miss 3 games. A month has passed. You're off. You get assessed. You have a full week of like practice and different things. I think that'd be the minimum, is a month. And then folks would be like, he's taking the time. He's seen all these doctors. He's gotten permission. My actual answer to it is, I think they've said that this is his like 17th documented concussion.
Not 17th. It's like 5th.
No, it's about the same.
It was 17, different conversation. Come on, grow up,
So, we can't play the game forever. Okay, my bad putting out fake news out there. All right, 5. Way to check me in real time. I am under the opinion that not that he couldn't possibly be safe. With the number of concussions he's at, if the question is how long would he have to wait before his chances of concussions go down, the answer is forever.
For sure. And doctors are going to say, they're just going to tell him the exact same thing because nothing has changed. I don't think anything's different this time.
Bingo. That's what I was going to say. Like, if we were okay with it last time, you should be okay with it this time.
Yeah, it's like, of course, the more concussions you get, the easier it is that you get them again. That's true. That's basically the only thing anybody knows about concussions that is true. Legitimately. Yeah. It's like, that's all we know. I think you're right. A month feels correct in terms, because that's also in line with short-term IR. So they could put him on short-term IR and that would work. Actually, I think if it's short-term IR, he has to miss 4 games and they have a bye in a month. So for 4 games would be 5 weeks. But if he misses 5 games instead, which would be missing 6 weeks, he could return against the Bills.
That's nice.
It's very fun.
Where he
and get knocked out again. That's the thing. It's either Hamlin's going to get hurt by him or Hamlin's going to hit him again. He's going to blitz first play.
Yeah. No, I agree with you. I think that feels better. And that would maybe answer my question, because my last question to you would be, do you feel like the perception of this is impacted at all by the fact that Tua clearly isn't evaluating things? And I'm not saying that he's not listening to things or taking in opinions, but I'm curious if the public will care about the fact that in his most this and his incident last year, his opinion on he's never ever gonna take himself out. And I'm wondering
No.
if that matters. Because if it was a player whose opinion on it wasn't that known, I do wonder if we'd be comfortable with a quicker turnaround. But because I feel like people are coming out very publicly of maybe he should never play again, because he will not consider that.
No, I mean, and let's remember, I hate Tua. Okay?
That's true. By the way, for none of these reasons, we've got a long list. None of these reasons.
Yes. Is it petty? Is it a petty hate? No, it's validated. It's justified.
Yeah.
However, I don't blame him one bit for wanting to come back. First off, he's a young guy. He's overcome injuries.
Yeah.
He is a true competitor. He just got handed a blank check. So maybe he feels like he owes it to the organization. Regardless, if it comes down to just purely selfish reasons, this is the best team. This is the best chance he'll ever have to win a Super Bowl. Last year was his truly best chance, but for the rest of the time, because Tyreek Hill is not going to get younger. If you don't have Tyreek Hill, he's not going to win. And if I'm him, I built my entire life around football to be in the NFL, to be at this point. And if I leave now, I'm remembered forever for having concussions, and that's it. The last picture of me is me being on the field squirming with my fingers doing weird stuff and all of that. And this has made a bigger deal for multiple reasons. One, it's a quarterback. Two, it's a young quarterback who was in the spotlight at Alabama and now here. So it's bigger than big. And three, he only gets concussions in primetime games every time.
Yeah.
This has never happened at a noon game. It's just he sees the pressure of everybody, and all of a sudden, this is what happens. So maybe I should be looking at when the next primetime game is, and that would be a week after the Bills game. So maybe they're bad if we bring them back for the Bills game, but maybe we bring them back for Monday Night Football against the Rams, which does feel like an Aaron Donald comeback game, maybe.
Oh my God. If Aaron Donald comes back to play against Tua, that should be a crime. But I agree with you, because the point that I have not liked in all of this is I feel like the conversation of he should retire is so much louder around this particular player and issue than I don't blame it. I don't even necessarily disagree, but I didn't hear it as much after the last one. And I'm in the same, he's as at risk. Like you said, there's so little we know about concussions. I just firmly am where was it earlier? I feel like the outrage is coming from a place of, oh, Tua, you have to do it yourself. And that's just not realistic. I'm upset that we're not holding the team in the league accountable when it's Tua has to sacrifice his own livelihood and reputation for the sake of his health. I understand that argument is there. I wish that wasn't the expectation. When we know, even down to the grade school level, that is the exact opposite of what these players are trained to do.
Yeah.
Never take yourself out of a game.
Unless you are physically unable to walk back onto the field. You have to be in there. And concussions is right. And the concussions are a weird thing. He will, at some point, it could be in a week, it could be in a month, it could be next year. At some point, he's going to feel perfectly fine. It's not like his legs are stiff. It's not like he's trying to trust his knee again. It's just a mind. And so then, yes, maybe he'll be thinking, maybe he'll think maybe I should slide feet first instead of diving straight into a Bills player. There's a chance that happens. This is fully on him. But who the hell knows? I think we need to ask Austin Collie. That's the only opinion I care about. If Austin Collie's hang it up. But I think Austin Collie is going to be hey, I would still go across the middle for Peyton Manning today. And if he says that, then fair enough.
Austin Collie or Ryan Shazier. I need you to get one of their approvals. Maybe Zach Miller.
Zach Miller. Johnny Knox. That's not a concussion. He just snapped in half. But There's
That's
there's a
true.
few.
You know who I like seeing? Let's end on this. I've got two candidates for my favorite people in sports talk right now. Two former NFL personalities. One is not a surprise. We've talked about him before. Former coach, who I think we both love as a pundit.
Okay. You want me to guess?
Yeah.
There's a couple that are very good right now. It's not Bill Belichick, even though I do love him.
I love him too.
I just enjoy anything Bill Cowher says. Is it Cowher?
I do too. Rex Ryan.
It makes me. Rex Ryan's great. Cowher makes me smile. Anytime he says something, it's just old school meathead football. But I believe him. Like, I just respect him so much. But Rex Ryan's great, of course.
Rex Ryan and talking about the Jets game, they were like, "What did you learn this week?" Well, I learned if they played against a freaking grade schooler, then they'll be fine. And I was like, that's awesome. That's so funny. Last week, he accused Will Levis of having money on the game.
Maybe.
And he brought it up again this week. He's like, I got yelled at for it. I mean, how many games does it have to happen before they look into it? And I'm like, I love you, Rex. And then this week, speaking of horrific injuries, my heart does a little flutter when I see Alex Smith on TV.
That is true. It's like, you made it, you son of a bitch. Yeah, we're so proud of you. I'm so proud how you walked on
9 injury ever. That's right.
Yeah, that is true. But okay, see, I have that same wholesome thought as you, but then I also have another one like, you're not qualified for this. What did you do?
Here's what I'll say, though. They were talking about it with, I appreciated his breakdown of the Caleb Williams game because he was next to Teddy Bruschi. And Teddy was like, you know, let's be honest, a lot of the times, these number 1 overall picks, they get a lot of hype. They're fine. They're absolutely fine. Sometimes they're less than fine. And Alex Smith goes, damn right. And I was like, that's right, Alex. Own it. Like, he was like, you know, we're not great. Sometimes that's okay. Feed into it. I do sometimes think Alex Smith is probably, would you say he's remembered as the leg guy? Is that his legacy?
I actually don't know. I feel like maybe it's just me. That's a good point. To me, it feels like he's remembered for being the prototypical game manager where everyone's like, he's not even good. He just completes passes.
Yeah, that's right. The game manager who somehow like went one season in Kansas City without ever throwing a touchdown to a wide receiver.
That's true. Incredible. We need a documentary on that season. What happened and how?
We need that documentary because before that leg injury, I need a documentary on the moment in time where everyone went, are we sure we want Mahomes?
Yeah. A behind the scenes of that would be incredible.
Yeah. And everyone going, yes, we do.
I want to hear the one person who is just like, dude, we have a number 1 overall pick in Alex Smith. What are we doing? We could not give it over to this Kermit the Frog sounding guy.
That guy, by the way, Stu Gotts. I heard him say it in real time. Like one of his favorite takes. Yeah, one of his favorite takes is he's like, you can put me on record. They will rue the day they said Alex.
He is the real rue the day. Hey, you win some, you lose some. You know, they don't remember the good ones. It's a strong take.
That's
we have a few of those. It's fine.
And remember, folks, Gamber's fallacy is a fallacy. You lost this time. Get him again. Will Levis, one of those throws has to work.
It does not.
So let's get moving, swing to the Flurry Sports Groove. Listen up and let your worries just snooze. Grab your popcorn, settle in, let's have a blast. With Zach and Jake, the Flurry Sports Podcast.